The year was 1890, in a fog-drenched alley of Prague. A boy named Victor Lustig watched the city's elite flaunt their wealth. He wasn't rich, he wasn't powerful, but he learned something vital that day. Authority was a mask, and Victor could wear it. Victor left school early. Numbers, letters, faces, everything could be manipulated. He perfected the art of charm, the skill of persuasion, the secret of being someone you are not. By the time he was 20, he was already a professional conman. The 1920s. Paris was roaring. Jazz filled smoky rooms, and money whispered in every corner. Victor arrived with little more than a suitcase and a smile. But he had a plan bigger than anything Europe had seen. The Eiffel Tower, a symbol of France, a magnet for tourists, and, most importantly, a massive pile of scrap metal. Victor studied it like a chess player studies the board. There was opportunity here, so large it could make him untouchable. Victor became Victor Lustig, Inspector General of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. He printed documents. He ordered suits. He carried himself like a man the world had no right to question. And in Paris, no one did. A scrap dealer named André Poisson caught Victor's attention. André loved money more than caution. Victor wrote him a letter, inviting him to an exclusive government auction for the Eiffel Tower. André's eyes widened. Victor met André in a private hotel room. He spoke of secrecy, efficiency, and patriotism. He showed fake government seals. André felt nervous, honored, and greedy, all at once. Victor could almost taste victory. "I can make you the owner of the Eiffel Tower scrap," Victor whispered. André's mind raced. A fortune waiting to be claimed, if only he could act fast. Victor handed him a contract. André signed it without hesitation. Victor left with a satchel of banknotes. André would later realize he had paid far more than the tower's scrap value. But by then, Lustig had vanished. Paris police had no leads. The city buzzed with rumors. Who was this man? No one knew. But one thing was clear. Victor Lustig had pulled off the impossible. Months later, Victor returned. The Eiffel Tower was still standing, and so was opportunity. He had no shame, no fear. He simply chose a new mark and a new angle. Another scrap dealer fell for the same pitch. Different room, different contract, same satchel of cash. Victor's brilliance was in repetition. He could exploit human greed as often as he wanted. Victor's victims were too embarrassed to go to the authorities. Who would admit they'd been fooled by a man pretending to be a government official? Lustig understood human psychology better than anyone. The city whispered his name. Some admired him, some cursed him, but no one could touch him. Lustig had become untouchable, not because of power, but because of audacity. Victor's scheme stretched across Europe. Hotels in Vienna, banks in Berlin, casinos in Monte Carlo. No mark was too big, no law too small. Chicago, 1924. The gangster Al Capone ruled the streets with iron fists. Lustig, hearing of him, thought, even kings have weaknesses. Victor wrote to Capone under the guise of a European business tycoon. He promised a deal that could double the gangster's wealth overnight. Capone, intrigued, agreed to meet. Victor arrived in Chicago, dressed impeccably, calm as a cat among lions. Capone's men watched him closely, but Victor's charm made them relax, if only for a moment. Victor spun a tale of European investments, rare coins, and untapped fortunes. Capone listened, fascinated. Lustig was audacious, but he was also careful. One wrong step here would be fatal. Capone transferred a sum of money to Victor for a guaranteed return. Lustig smiled politely and left Chicago the next day, as calm as if he were strolling through Paris. Capone would later realize he had been conned, but by then, Lustig was long gone. Stories of the man who sold the Eiffel Tower and scammed Al Capone spread. Newspapers called him a criminal genius. But for Victor, it was just another day at work. Victor learned early that charm could disarm suspicion faster than any weapon. He could talk a man out of his watch, his wallet, or his pride, and the man would thank him. Every con was a lesson in human nature. Lustig observed greed, vanity, and fear with the precision of a scientist. He knew exactly how far to push, and when to pull back. No home, no permanent address, no attachments. Victor thrived in motion. He carried forged passports, cash, and secrets. Paris, Vienna, Berlin, his world was everywhere and nowhere. Even after years of travel, Lustig loved Paris. The cafes, the jazz, the air of opportunity, it reminded him why he started. And the Eiffel Tower still stood, mocking the audacity of a man who dared to sell it twice. Victor didn't stop at towers. He moved to banks, jewelers, and political figures. His cons became bigger, bolder, more cinematic. He once sold a counterfeit money printing machine to a desperate buyer in Germany. The buyer paid a small fortune, before realizing that the machine was a piece of scrap. Victor nearly faced capture more than once. Police, gangsters, and angry victims all sought him. But Lustig's greatest weapon wasn't disguise. It was his ability to vanish at the right moment. He never resorted to violence. No one ever reported being hurt. Lustig's crime was elegance in motion, a dance of deception and audacity. He attended high society parties under false names, mingling with those he had conned. He smiled, he bowed, and he left with more information for his next scheme. Despite his wealth, Victor avoided banks. He preferred cash, secrecy, and mobility. Every coin was a story, every note a silent victory. Victor understood that fear was as powerful as money. A glance, a word, a document. It could control kings and crooks alike. Occasionally, he worked with small-time hustlers, teaching them the art of charm. But Lustig's cons were always his alone. He was a solo artist, a master of illusion. Governments, police forces, and gangsters alike tried to catch him. Lustig's laughter echoed through corridors of power, unpunished, untouchable. Victor's travels brought him back to France. He walked past the Eiffel Tower, smiling privately. He had sold it twice. No one could ever accuse him of a lack of imagination. By the late 1930s, Lustig was more myth than man. Tales of his exploits were told in bars, cafes, and prisons. Everyone knew of the man who had dared to sell Paris itself. Victor eventually retired from active cons. But old habits die hard. Even in retirement, he schemed, though now for amusement, rather than survival. He lived quietly in Paris for a few years, always alert, always calculating. Even a stroll down the Seine felt like a prelude to a new adventure. He occasionally dabbled in small tricks, like convincing restaurants to sponsor imaginary events, or charming art dealers out of paintings, but nothing compared to Eiffel Tower levels. One night, police almost caught him during a minor scam. Victor's escape was theatrical, a leap through a window, a vanish into the Paris streets. Even in danger, he remained stylish, composed, and untouchable. Newspapers called him the gentleman conman. Historians later called him a criminal genius. But Victor never sought fame. Fame was just another mask he could wear, or discard.